What if everything you've been running from could be found in the one place you least expect it? A garden, a wall, and a connection that defies age. This is a story of rediscovery, vulnerability, and what happens when life surprises you in the most beautiful way. Stay tuned to hear the real story of finding love when you thought it was all behind you. Hi everyone, I'm Jessica, the storyteller on the Adult Women's Tales channel. Here, I'll share stories about love, conflicts, betrayal, and infidelity within families. These stories offer a deep look into relationships and the challenges families face. Stay tuned and explore with me. If you love emotional stories and want to uncover the hidden secrets in families, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our videos. A Sunday day was bright, pleasant, and so calm that you could hear bees idly sifting through the lavender that lined the back fence. Once more, I found myself knee-deep in dirt and alone in my small haven, the garden. Since my divorce 2 years ago, gardening has become my therapy. I, the ground and the solace of rhythm. No voices, no judgments. There, I felt at ease. It was hot that day, and to be honest, I didn't expect company. I was wearing one of my old sundresses, which were made of faded yellow cotton, had thin straps, and were perhaps too low in the front for bending over flower beds. When I heard the gate creak, I was standing with my feet naked in the grass, my hair carelessly twisted, and a trowel in my hand, trying to pry a tough root from the ground. I blinked at the figure entering as I turned around. I didn't identify him right away. Ryan is the son of my friend Denise. He was no longer the gaunt teenager I had known a few years before. His voice was deeper, his shoulders were wider, and his stride was more relaxed and self-assured. His current age was 22, possibly 23. I was old enough to realize how my gaze lingered too long, yet still young enough to feel my age. He gave me a smile. I came to help you with that garden wall, since Mom instructed me to. Laura. I shielded my eyes with my dirt-stained fingers and squinted up at him. Did she? He nodded toward the side of the house and answered, yeah. Stated that you intended to remove the old bricks and replace them with new ones. I thought you would require assistance. I paused. Although I may have mentioned it in passing to Denise at brunch last week, I hadn't truly asked her for assistance. She sent her son over as a favor, which surprised me. I was alone, though I did require assistance. Furthermore, Ryan wasn't very difficult to look at. I brushed my hands on my dress and murmured, all right, but don't claim I didn't warn you. The wall was there before you were ever born. It is unyielding. So am I, he answered, grinning crookedly. He immediately took off his hoodie and got to work. For the next hour, we worked side by side in the sun. As he pulled, I dug. While I stacked, he pried. It was natural, too. I would occasionally catch him looking at me with curiosity rather than disrespect. He was watching, as if he was attempting to understand me. After a while, he inquired, using the back of his arm to wipe perspiration from his brow, "You always do this alone?" I leaned on my spade and remarked, "Makes me feel useful. In addition, I enjoy the silence. Nobody to stop you from thinking." He gave me a contemplative gaze. I understand, yet it feels isolating. A pause fell between them, the kind that occurs when something unsaid lingers and demands recognition. I merely leaned down to get a few bricks without saying anything. However, I suddenly knew him in a way I had not anticipated. The intimacy, the warmth, and the way he moved with such assurance without seeming haughty. Despite our different ages, I didn't feel ignored or unimportant because he was considerate and nice. I sensed being seen. We stopped when we were halfway through taking down the wall. After I poured us some lemonade, we sat with our legs hanging onto the grass on the deck's edge. His knee barely touched mine, unintentionally at first, but it remained there, steady and warm. He surveyed the beds I had poured my heart into and remarked, "Your garden is beautiful." like a secret location that nobody is aware of. I muttered that sometimes that's precisely what I want it to be. He gave me his full attention. Why? Again, trapped between diversion and truth, I hesitated. Because you cease wanting to be seen after experiencing grief and disappointment. You construct fortifications, cultivate roses, and cover your wounds with vines. Slowly, thoughtfully, he nodded. You know you don't have to hide here. I was drawn back to his gaze by something in his speech. He wasn't having fun. He wasn't kidding. More than anything else, I was surprised by his sincerity. You're young, I murmured, half laughing. Ryan, what are you, 22? Last month? 23, he said. I'm 47 years old. I put down my drink and went on, sufficiently old to be your mother. He grinned a little, but not too much. My mother is not you. Furthermore, getting older does not diminish your worth for understanding. That statement hit me like a ton of bricks. I was momentarily at a loss for words. I had spent so much of my life dealing with obligations, the demands of being a good wife, my work, my son, and then a decent ex-wife. I had hidden my demands behind the pragmatic. And suddenly this young man was talking to a part of me that I hadn't spoken to in years. I added, softening my voice. I didn't anticipate this. He made a timid but sufficient attempt to touch my hand. I didn't either. The moment lingered, electrifying, startling, and soft. I remained motionless. He didn't either. We simply sat there with the sky above us and the garden buzzing around us, while a subtle yet potent energy moved between us. There was no lust involved. Not quite yet. There was more to it. Recognition, curiosity, permission. My heart was pounding in ways I didn't want to acknowledge, so I got up first. I suggested that we complete this wall. Brushing off his jeans, he stood up as well. Yes, but if it's okay with you, I'd like to return tomorrow. I felt a weird churn in my gut as I stared at him. It wouldn't bother me. I found myself observing his calm, unhurried gait as he strolled out the garden gate, yet it seemed like something had changed within him as well. I didn't touch anything, but I turned back to my flower beds. With my fingers still tingling from where he touched me, I just stood there and stared at the wall. In the midst of my garden, something had started, silently and without warning. And I had a gut feeling that nothing would be the same. I woke up earlier than usual the following morning. Yesterday's work had left my body with that subtle, earned soreness. Beneath the surface, though, was a different type of intensity that I hadn't experienced in years. Expectation. As I brushed out my hair in front of the bathroom mirror, I became aware of how long it had gotten. At the temples, a few gentle but honest strands of gray showed through. I thought about hiding them, then didn't. I had no intention of pretending to be someone I wasn't. Ryan was going to see the real me if he was returning. Not just the rose-tending, sundress-wearing version, but the lady who had survived, suffered, recovered, and yet managed to be surprised. I returned to the garden around 10 o'clock when the sun had already begun to rise. I was wearing a navy dress with little white flowers, another nice cotton garment. I had to modify it because it was too tight around my waist and tipped slightly. Then, however, I heard the gate's recognizable creak once more. Wearing dark pants and a white t-shirt, he entered holding a brown paper bag in one hand and a small toolbox in the other. "Good morning," he said, with the same effortless grin. "Brought lunch. Figured we'd get right to the point." Despite myself, I smiled and added, "Look at you, prepared." "My mom taught me," he said, putting the bag down. "Perhaps I just enjoy feeding the folks I want to hang out with." Though they were lightly spoken, the words hung in the air between us. He didn't exert pressure. He simply moved to where we had left off, and I continued where we had stopped. With hands occasionally brushing against one another, and glances that spoke more than we dared to say, the labor continued.
Although everything was still subdued and courteous, the tension was still present. We stopped again around noon, this time beneath the maple tree in the yard's back corner. Sandwiches, fruit, 2 sodas, and a chocolate bar were found inside the paper bag. You recalled that I enjoy dark chocolate. Startled, I asked. He handed it to me and remarked, "You mentioned it once," to which I listened. I was surprised by that response once more. It was true, not because it was charming, though it was. He had listened, and that meant more to me than I could acknowledge in a world where I had become accustomed to being ignored. For a time, we ate in silence while sitting on the grass. Then he offered a question that caused me to put down my lunch. "Could I ask you a personal question?" Slowly, I nodded. "Yes. Why did you break up with your ex?" I stared at him, unable to resist the urge to open a door I had kept closed and the urge to maintain objectivity. His voice wasn't intrusive, though. It was real. I finally said, "We stopped seeing each other." Not in a physical sense. On an emotional level, we grew accustomed to the pattern over the years. The roles. I came to the realization one day that I couldn't recall the last time I had truly been wanted. Not only required, wanted. Ryan gave a nod. "Even though I've never been married, that sounds familiar." I looked at him curiously. "You've already experienced something similar." He said, "I had a girlfriend for a couple of years. Last winter it came to an end. She was excellent. However, I always felt that I needed to demonstrate my worth to her, as if I were being measured." I said that was exhausting. He gave a quiet smile. "Yes, it is. It doesn't feel that way, though, sitting here with you." My breath came in short gasps. "Ryan." Before continuing, he rested his elbows back and observed the clouds for a while. "Laura, I'm not attempting to pressure you. I am aware that this is a complex matter. However, I simply want you to know that it feels different to be with you. It's good to be different." I remained silent for a while. That level of honesty was beyond my comprehension. Not from a man his age, really, not from anyone in the last few years. However, I had a sneaking suspicion that something was changing within me the moment he entered that gate yesterday. We returned to work after finishing our lunch, both of us a little quieter now. By late afternoon, the wall was nearly disassembled, and we started drawing the design of the new one. He was squatting next to me, writing on a notepad, and I couldn't help but notice how his arm touched mine. I didn't move away this time. He nonchalantly said, "I could come again this weekend. If you desire assistance, that would be nice," I answered. I meant it too. He stopped close to the back steps as we packed up and gathered tools as the sky softened with early twilight light. "Hey," he responded, meeting my gaze. "You are not required to respond at this time, but do you want to get together for dinner sometime? Only us. Don't wear gardening gloves." A mixture of excitement and fear made my heart skip a beat. I partially laughed and remarked, "That might raise a few eyebrows." "Allow them to rise," he said. "No one else's story about us interests me, only ours." His clean, serene vision of the world was back, noticed me. I moved in closer, grazing his forearm with my fingers. "Give it some thought." "I'll wait," he said. He didn't bend over. He made no attempt to approach. He simply returned through the gate with a steady, courteous smile. I didn't check my phone or turn on the TV when I eventually made it inside. My heart was bursting with feelings I hadn't allowed myself to experience in years as I stood in the kitchen and gazed out at the garden's fading light. I felt astonished, curious, anxious, and alive. I kept repeating what he had said while I laid in bed that night. No one else's story about us interests me, only ours. And for the first time in a long time, I began to consider the possibility that I still had a fresh story to write. There was a peculiar, obvious electricity to the days that followed, like the anticipation of a summer storm. It all felt charged. To pass the time during the week, I kept myself occupied by rearranging kitchen drawers that didn't need to be rearranged, clipping flowers, and even repainting the guest bathroom. But Ryan was always on my mind, regardless of what I was doing. It was more than simply his gaze, his presence, or the effortless manner he strolled around the garden. It was the way he listened, the way he treated me as though I were important, and the way he didn't hesitate to speak up when quiet wasn't enough. I had persuaded myself by Saturday morning that our talk might have been more in my imagination than he meant. Perhaps I was exaggerating the situation. Perhaps he was simply being considerate and kind, which is uncommon these days. Perhaps I was simply lonely. I heard the gate swing open once again as I was in the middle of watering the flower beds. I didn't even look up this time. "You're late," I murmured, grinning to me. Behind me, he added, "I brought coffee. Pardon me." When I turned around, he was there. His chest was snuffed by the t-shirt. 2 paper cups were held in his hair by sunglasses. He had the appearance of someone who had always been there. I grabbed the coffee out of his grasp. "You bring bribes every time. Only for women who frighten me," did he smile. I laughed at that. "You don't appear to be intimidated easily. You'd be shocked." In some ways, it was simpler because we spent the majority of the morning working without saying much. Slow, bluesy music was streaming from the Bluetooth speaker I had placed on the deck. The wall was starting to take shape once more. It was better than it had been before, more powerful. We stopped for water about midday. Wiping perspiration from his brow, he stood beside me by the spigot and then turned to face me, speaking in a hushed tone. "Have you considered having dinner?" I was taken aback by how composed he sounded as he asked, without pressuring. I swallowed because I had already made up my mind, not because I wasn't sure. I simply hadn't yet spoken it aloud. "I have," I said, and I slowly nodded. "Sure, but not outside." He squinted his gaze a little in inquiry. I went on, "Here, in my space, I want to cook. Only us." His face softened in some way. "That sounds ideal." I lighted candles that night because they added warmth to the dining room, not because I was attempting to create a romantic atmosphere, though I may have been. I prepared a straightforward yet sophisticated dish. Roasted potatoes, asparagus, lemon garlic chicken, and a bottle of wine I had been putting away for a certain occasion that never seemed to materialize. So far, the dress shirt and pants weren't the only thing that made Ryan seem different when he arrived. His mannerisms also changed, more deliberate, less informal. As soon as I opened the door, his eyes met mine. He said, "You look fantastic. Without dirt on your hands, I nearly didn't know you." I smirked and added, "Don't get used to it, but thank you." Dinner went smoothly. Soft clinks of glasses, laughter, and the kind of discourse that effortlessly transitions between deep and light. He talked to me about college and how frustrating it was to not know what would happen next. I told him about my garden's ability to save me in ways that therapy could not, and about the silence following my divorce. The air had changed, and the bottle of wine was half empty by the time we made our way to the living room. Not heavy, but definitely heavier, conscious. His thigh brushed mine as he sat close to me. After a lengthy silence, he inquired, "Are you afraid?" I looked over at him. Of what? Of this? Of myself? I inhaled, not you, of what it could signify, of what other people may say, of allowing myself to experience this. His fingers curled slightly till they established a soft grip as his hand brushed mine. "No one needs an explanation from you." I muttered, "I know, but I owe myself honesty." "Then tell the truth," he urged. I gave him all of my attention. In some ways, he was more emotionally grounded than men twice his age, despite having a much younger and more open face. It felt strange to express my needs and desires aloud because I had been suppressing them for so long. "Ryan, I like you more than I'd want to say." His fingers gripped mine a little tighter. "Don't fight it then." Once more there was silence, but this time it was certain. It was ripe with opportunity.
I had time to halt him as he gently leaned in. I didn't. For a brief while, the only thing on our minds was how soft and right it felt when our lips met lightly. There was no hurry, not desperate, just quiet desire allowed to blossom at last. I didn't immediately open my eyes when we parted. I simply remained there, pressing my forehead to his. I muttered, "I'm not looking for something casual." "I'm not," he replied. For a while, we sat there, speaking. I'm kissing, talking once more. Nothing was hurried. No unnecessary lines should be crossed. Just two people from various walks of life, a woman and a guy, discovering something unexpected in each other's company. He gave me another kiss at the door before leaving that evening. "Laura, good night. Ryan, good night." And for the first time in a very long time, I grinned guilt-free as I rested against the door after I had shut it behind him. This was real, whatever it was, and everything was just getting started. The week that followed was characterized by an odd sort of subdued happiness, a calm hum that permeated my chest and persisted even on the days when I wasn't with Ryan. I sensed it when I tied my hair up in the morning, when I irrigated the garden in the afternoon, and when I discovered a brief note from him in the evening. "I'm considering you," or "wish I were present," or simply say hello. Poetry wasn't necessary. It felt so real because of how straightforward it was. I still hadn't told anyone, not Denise, not my son, not even Beth, my best buddy. Before being expressed in words, certain things required some breathing room. I sensed it wasn't secrecy. It served as defense, like a fresh flower. What we had remained delicate, lovely, but not quite ready for the wind. That Friday afternoon, Ryan returned. This time, no tools. Don't wear garden gloves. Only him and me. With a slight smile, he offered his hand and remarked, "I thought we could go for a walk." I returned the smile. "It's been ages since I went for a walk for no other reason." He answered, "That's precisely why you should." Our arms occasionally touched as we strolled along the peaceful residential street, past picket fences and blossoming crepe myrtles. He once totally grasped my hand, and we proceeded to stroll in that manner, without hesitation, no embarrassment, only a connection. "You're unlike anyone I've ever met," he stated abruptly. "I didn't realize I needed some of the things you make me think about. You make things go more slowly." I had gazed at him, feeling his hand's warmth on mine. "You also remind me that it's okay for me to feel, that there is yet time." Before I could filter the words, they were out. I didn't take them back, though. I had no desire to.
Ryan had shown me that happiness, emotional connection, and the ability to be seen, truly seen, without worrying about being abandoned, were all possibilities I had lost the ability to believe in. We had no plans for that evening. He just stayed. We wrapped a blanket around our shoulders and sat on the back porch to observe the sky. I prepared tea. He took my hand once again and pressed it to his chest as if he needed its stability. He caressed me gently, without hurrying or pressuring, like though being near me was more important to him than anything else at that precise moment. And that was the decisive factor. As we gazed up at the sky, I said, "I have no idea what this is supposed to look like." He gave me a quick look. "Me too. I get how that feels, though." I grinned. "How does it feel, too?" His head rested a little on mine. "Even if it doesn't make sense to others, like home."
After a while, he gave me another kiss, this time more slowly, deeper. Still, it's tender, still in a respectful wrap. Later, while we sat on the couch, the lights went out and we could hear crickets playing softly outside the window. "Do you think this could really work?" I murmured, resting my head on his shoulder. "Me and you." His fingertips lightly brushed mine. "You don't leave something that feels this real, in my opinion. You managed to make it work, and I did believe it for once." Ryan showed me something I hadn't anticipated, that a relationship based on openness, kindness, and trust could occur anywhere, even in a garden on a random Sunday when you weren't seeking for anything at all. This isn't because I was lost in my imagination. We made no commitments. That night, we didn't strive to clarify everything. We knew what we had, though, and it was sufficient. When I recalled Ryan helping me again a few weeks later, Denise finally heard something in my voice. She remarked, angry but not suspicious, "He seems to be around a lot lately." I said plainly, "He's easy to talk to," and stopped there, because there were aspects of my existence that no longer required justification or explanation. All they had to do was live. What we had deepened with the summer. I started to observe how I stood a little taller, smiled more, and looked forward to mornings once more. "You know, this wall might be the most meaningful thing I've ever helped build," Ryan commented to me one evening as we stood in the yard close to the wall we had rebuilt together. Grinning, I turned to face him. "The wall is not the only thing." He gave a nod. "I am aware." And as I stood there in the dusk's golden light, I became aware that I had changed from the woman I had been weeks before. Something positive, something real had gotten through to me, and I was a different person. So whomever you are, wherever you are, if you're listening, pay attention. I never would have imagined that I would experience this. Don't make the same mistakes I did. Avoid waiting too long to get noticed. Avoid hiding behind the years or worrying about what other people may think. Because love can occasionally appear when you least expect it, when you previously believed that nothing new could ever flourish, and it catches you off guard in the most exquisite way. That's it for today's story. If you found it moving, don't forget to share the video with your friends and family. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.